用全球视角解读东西方管理思想是否真的存在差异？
So view the Earth from the moon. No division between East and West.
将东西方文化融入商学院教育的有效途径是什么？
So my diagnosis is that stronger business education will come if we both combine business as we normally think about it, not only with the sciences, which I agree with, but also with the humanities.
在本期的第一财经中国经济论坛里，全球著名商学院院长将就东西方管理思想的差异的话题展开探讨。今天的第一财经中国经济论坛展现的是博鳌亚洲论坛2016年年会第一财经电视专场论坛的精彩内容，主题是东西方管理思想的差异。在全球企业竞争中，东西方管理思想的差异不仅是文化问题，更是一个与效益相关的现实问题。因此，深入探讨东西方企业管理的差异，并找出解决之道，有利于迎接跨文化管理的挑战。今天的论坛共有7位嘉宾参与，他们分别是圆桌嘉宾 Frank Buono， 欧洲高等商学院院长；呼艺人，日本 Globis 商学院院长；安德烈·沙罗诺夫，莫斯科斯科沃管理学院院长；彼得·图法诺，牛津大学赛德商学院院长；向斌，长江商学院院长；杨贤，新加坡国立大学商学院院长。论坛特邀主持人张立奋，上海第一财经传媒有限公司首席顾问。精彩的内容即将展开，我们的论坛马上开始。
We have 6 panelists, and all of them, they are leading figures of some of the best business schools in the world. So first of all, I just want to start with Frank. You know, you represent the one of the oldest at B School. Way back. And my question is that, do you think the modern day business education has really changed beyond recognition since your predecessor founded 200 years ago?
Yes, obviously this is a very important question. When the school was created in the early 19th century, it's very interesting to see why it was created. The founders, there was a need for a science to develop so that people would no longer make their fortunes just out of speculation, just out of investing without any rationality behind it. And then over time, what is fabulous about business education in this world is that we all have a very big responsibility on our shoulders. Not just training managers for the short term, but also developing leaders for tomorrow. And not just for the economy of today, but for the challenges of tomorrow. One of the challenges for our institutions and business schools is not just to transmit contents to students, but to help them learn in a way that is going to prepare them.
Okay, thank you very much, Frank. And actually, I think for the past few years, especially since the collapse of the financial crisis in 2008 and 2009, actually, many of the leading business schools in the world, including the management theory, has been challenged. So I think I just want to turn to so what exactly your school is now delivering?
So what we are seeing globally is that technology is changing the world. However, business schools have not taught about technology. So what we are trying to do is to disrupt what has been the business school, the model which has not been changed for 100 or 200 years, to a modern business school in 2 ways. One is that delivery. We started online education from last year, so we issue online MBA. Second is that there will be no paper. So it's going to be all curriculum is going to be done online, and we can talk about that. We can do everything online. Thirdly, in terms of contents and curriculum, we have been only teaching about management, but we have to teach more about technology. So what we are planning to do is to call technology innovation. So we call it Technovate. So MBA is going to be Technovated. That kind of curriculum and also contents and delivery, we are planning to disrupt MBA model.
So I just want to turn to Peter. Peter, what is actually troubling you most as the dean in terms of delivering what you want to deliver in this particular 21st century world?
So my diagnosis is that stronger business education will come if we both combine business as we normally think about it, not only with the sciences, which I agree with, but also with the humanities. And I think at a certain point we'll talk about East-West and culture. The only way to incorporate East-West and culture into our business schools is to acknowledge that they're not simply, social sciences, but rather there's a big humanities component in what we do, there's a big social science component in what we do, there is a big technology component in what we do, and it all sits under a big umbrella of business.
东方国家在管理思想方面有哪些传统智慧？
Among the crowd of three, there must be one you can learn much from. So, but this crowd of three is so global.
东西方商学院如何融合共通？
How do we be practical, be relevant, at the same time vigorous?
第一财经中国经济论坛，请您继续收看。今天的第一财经中国经济论坛展现的是博鳌亚洲论坛2016年年会第一财经电视专场论坛的精彩内容，主题是东西方管理思想的差异。在刚刚的节目里，欧洲高等商学院院长 Frank Bono 认为，商业教育肩负重任，不仅要对管理者进行短期培训，更重要是培养未来领袖。日本 Globis 商学院院长忽毅仁认为，通过在线教育、无纸化以及传授科技内容等技术创新驱动，将变革 MBA 模式。牛津大学赛德商学院院长彼得·图法诺认为，兼顾科学和人文学科教育，才是将东西方文化融入商学院的有效途径。那么，长江商学院院长向丁、莫斯科斯科沃管理学院院长安德烈·沙罗诺夫、新加坡国立大学商学院院长杨贤对东西方管理思想的差异又有怎样的看法？第一财经中国经济论坛，请您继续收看。
I think I just want to turn to Professor Xiang. And today we're supposed to have a East and West conversation about management thinking. Is that a real something possible?
So I'll only talk about my own perspective on this East-West conversation. The first differentiation we had was our research about China. And because in China, the business environment is very different. And so we have many sources of disruptions. And then the relation between the state and business is very different. Because China has been globalized, economically, and also the Chinese company trying to go global. So the key element of emphasis in our school was a global perspective, everything. So view the Earth from the moon. No division between East and West. You need to learn from each, everyone. Confucius has a saying, among the crowd of three, there must be one you can learn much from. So, but this crowd of three is so global. 2004, we brought humanities, religion, history, philosophy, three key subjects, to the curriculum, MBA, EMBA, and non-degree program. At the very beginning of the school, I say, no international, I even don't like the term international. View the Earth from the moon. Nothing's international. We have a China market, a Japanese market, European market, American market. You learn from every one of them.
You are another representative of a transition economy, although I think the Russian scenario is not exactly the same as China. Did you find a sympathy or echo what with Professor Xiang has just mentioned? Is your experience different?
Yes, each country is unique, as I understand. I represent the school, which is a kind of response of the business, Russian business, towards some challenges in the management and the modern management in emerging markets. At the same time, they try to learn lessons from the international situation, from the experience of old international business school. You know some rumors about the crisis of MBA and a lot of CEOs' statements that the MBA kills creativity among the staff of the company. And I guess for Russia, it's a privilege because there is a lot of skeletons in all the university, which create very, very serious barriers for development of the business as such and business education. So also let me mention this, Peter mentioned as well, there's a lot of theory, also a challenge to change in the school, not much theory, more experience. In parallel with some disciplines from degree program, from MBA and executive MBA, but more practical experience, more good, and what is important, bad cases. Bad cases probably the most important for training people and to incentivize them to overcome these problems and barriers.
Thank you, Andrea and Professor Yuan. In your research, is management school on the right track or needs some fundamental redesign?
We don't want to think about business school as a separate identity or my school as a separate school. We want to think of us as a part of an ecosystem with a sense of purpose. That's how I would define the way I think about what we are trying to get at. Then one more thing that we're pushing now, this may be East Midwest, that in NUS Business School is pushing is that transformational learning. It is in the 孔夫子修心齐家治国平天下. We are in a time machine, but we cannot just apply what the Europeans do over here. They can learn a lot from us, and we can learn a lot from them. So what we need to do is to have a sense of humility, be humble, and think about 3 words. Be practical, be relevant, and also adopt the Western level of rigor. In Chinese, 你要接地气. So that's what we need to do. How do we be practical, be relevant, at the same time vigorous? We need to work together, be part of this ecosystem, train the students, and develop the knowledge.
在今天的第一财经中国经济论坛里，莫斯科斯科沃管理学院院长安德烈·沙罗诺夫认为，俄罗斯破除大学成规对商科教育的发展障碍，商业课程中应给予更多的实践经验和空间，鼓励创业人才。新加坡国立大学商学院院长杨贤认为，商学院是生态系统的一部分。西方的商学院更加注重对本国文化的学习，东西方商学院应通力合作，互相学习，发展经济。那么，新经济时代未来商学院将如何发展？学术研究到底对商学院重不重要 ？Frank Bono、呼艺人、安德烈·沙罗诺夫、彼得·图法诺、向兵、杨贤、张立奋将展开激烈的观点碰撞。第一财经中国经济论坛，请您继续收看。
I know that from body language of many, I think they all want to speak. I think I will very briefly because so far the East thinking has been pretty strong.
I would like to echo Bertie's point. Actually, it's not CKGSB's objective to create a China business school. And for the future, the China business and some of the Chinese business school need to take on global responsibilities.
I also want to add, what he is talking about is 齐家治国平天下, but I want to add one thing. Management thoughts and theory, they do not just come from the West. There exists a huge amount of Asian, beautiful thinking about management and about politics and about everything. If you go back to 论语孟子, you see a lot of this. If you go back to 管子, 你看到很多. Environmentalist, 孔夫子的时候已经讲了 environmentalist.
Unity of man and heaven, 天人合一.
I think I really want to give the Western thinking also a chance to defend themselves. And so far, I think Professor Xiang and Professor Yuan has been really working well together. I just want to give Peter the chance to, as the Eastern wisdom in management has been overlooked for long?
I don't believe so. I think the answer is both. But I think the real answer is that we need to work together more. So I don't think that we're set up for moonshot research anymore. I don't think that we are thinking about the research in the way that in the sciences people think about it, which is large collaborative teams. The other thing is that historically we do research by looking in the rearview mirror. And therefore with a handful of databases that we can collect or a handful of databases that everybody uses. Interesting new research will be out in the field and will be changing things. One, the need to collaborate internationally. 2, the need to do moonshot research with big teams with lots of data.
I think I really love Peter's point. I don't mean to be negative, but I think when we push from his point, we may see that in many of the established public universities has a governance problem. What we used to, as Peter already just illustrated, may not apply to this new world. So how we do it? At the same time, our governance system has not changed adequately to reflect that. I publish a lot, bingo, I'm king, I'm queen. Then I don't care about whether it's practical relevant or not. I'm already a full-time distinguished professor. That is that. Another possibility is that this is my formula to success, and I won't want anything. I won't contemplate others. There exists a huge amount of governance problem that we have not really managed ourselves properly.
If I could, I think you're hiding behind the governance problem. It is a problem about tenure standards, but I think we're hiding behind it. Virtually all of us do executive education, right? And so let's just change one word, executive education, executive research. If we had hid behind the governance and hid behind the standards, we would have never started. It is possible.
Can I just two
Okay,
sentences?
yeah.
It's not about hiding behind the governance problem. It's about exposing the governance problem so that we're empowered to go into that kind of debate, maybe not here, but in our own university.
Can you be the judge between the argument?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be a judge, but I think I'm going to echo some of these things and maybe bring... First of all, I agree that there is a big Asian heritage, and the heritage is, strictly speaking, what you inherit, what you get from decades and centuries of experience in a very complex societies. I like the word that my good friend from Singapore has used in terms of ecosystem. There must be more fluidity between the stakeholders. Stakeholders are not only, of course, students, but they are clearly companies, like everybody has said so far. And there should be more toing and froing between research, teaching, and consultancy. And in order to do this, I think that, of course, research should not disconnect too much from practice. If researchers, whatever they have been researching, are not able to transform this into practical top executive education, there is a problem.
I'd like to change the subject, because in case of management research, we believe that it's not read by business persons, it's not useful. And therefore, if you see from 10 years or 20 years from now on, you'll see a totally different picture. That's my prediction. But what we have to do, I think what is more important, is that you look at commerce dominated by Alibaba or e-commerce. And if you look at the cars as well, it's autonomous cars are being delivered. And if you look at fintech, like banks are in trouble, look at the media. What's going to happen to education in terms of this technological disruption? And that's the urgency we have to be facing as a business school. So the topic that we have to discuss about what kind of technology is going to change the way business schools are going to exist. At the same time, it always has to come with some kind of a revolutionary change happening. And that kind of a way, and then that will create a different ecosystem, which is more vibrant, which is more pragmatic, which is more practical for all the people who are around.
当下，商学院应该如何定位？
What is important is that we have to be practical in a way that
文化差异巨大，管理者风格大不同。
The third, opportunistic behavior, taking the chance rather than long-term planning.
第一财经中国经济论坛，请您继续收看。今天的第一财经中国经济论坛展现的是博鳌亚洲论坛2016年年会第一财经电视专场论坛的精彩内容，主题是东西方管理思想的差异。在刚刚的节目里，长江商学院院长向兵认为，中国应该用自己的技术和智慧来应对全球的挑战。新加坡国立大学商学院院长杨贤认为，当前商学院管理体系缺乏足够变革。而东方传统思想中有很多关于管理、政治和环境的经典理论值得学习。牛津大学赛德商学院院长彼得·图法诺认为，全球商学院需加强合作创新，获取更多外部数据。那么，纵观未来，东西方商学院发展变化趋势将会如何？ Frank Borno、朱毅仁、安德烈·沙罗诺夫、彼得·图法诺、向斌、杨贤、张立奋将继续阐述他们的观点。第一财经中国经济论坛，请您继续收看。
And I just want to give Andrea the chance to. Andrea is also building a very unique type of school. And how different the way you are running your school from the Yoshis?
Let me come back to the topic of our meeting, the East-West conversation on the management. So I would like to come with some conclusions on the business environment, which definitely determines the management style in the country. And I try to summarize some specifics, not only for Russian and market. It's a limited trust to formal institutions. And it's typical not only for Russia, but for China, for sure. A high reliance on informal networks and relationships. Also, it exists. We have to put it into account when we manage.
You mean relationship?
The third, opportunistic behavior, taking the chance rather than long-term planning.
Demand side.
Yes, and it's demand side. I started from this point. We are a response on the demand which we determined from the business environment in Russia.
I echo these colleagues of mine. For the future, the business school will be transformed in a fundamental way, because not only the technology disruptions, but also the social disruptions as well. The income inequality, inclusive growth, the climate change, global governance, all of that. We have to face these issues because this is going to be a strong fingerprint on the business environment around the globe.
2 points very important. One, regarding research. I think business schools must be engaged in research activities. Maybe we must reinvent the way it's done, but it has to be research-oriented. Just like patients do not read journals of medicine, business people don't always read management journals, but there are things that really help science move forward. And this is why we must strike the right balance between just pure practice and theory. Now, the second point I'm very much struck by is that we are talking about globalization. And of course, you cannot globalize or internationalize if you are not learning from differences. And this is why when you're saying we must go deeper, there is still a long way to do.
I think what I would emphasize is that faculty members has a role to play. They need to be deep. Just take this thing about CEOs don't read journals. We read for them, and we translate important knowledge for them. If we don't do deep into those, we're missing the ball.
CEOs don't listen to professors' advices any longer. Unfortunately, they do take advices from consultants, and that's the issue. So we have to be relevant, and we have to be always changing the way that businesses are changing. And that's the challenges that business schools are facing.
Another 10 seconds.
20 seconds. That's a particular point we face in our country, in our school, that, and we try to combine the training with consultancy, particularly for executive education program. When company comes and get back not just from the number of hours with some disciplines, but with real project. They have been preparing together with our trainers and professors. And it's as a product of our school as well.
Thank you very much for a very rigorous debate so far. And let's give all 6 of our panelists a round of welcome. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Would like also to wish the CBN Forum a lot of fun.
祝福你们 CBN 的论坛能发挥很大的贡献，也希望大家身体安好。
三人之行必有我师，而我师必定是全球的，所以这个全球学习越来越重要。希望你们在这方面做出更大的贡献。
like also to wish the CBN Forum a lot of fun.
祝福你们 CBN 的论坛能发挥很大的贡献，也希望大家身体安好。
三人之行必有我师，我师必定是全球的，所以这个全球学习类中，也希望你们在这部分做出更大的贡献。